All right, so today we're gonna take a look at the Honda transmission fluid change, which is pretty easy. It varies just depending on your vehicle. This is the 2011 Honda Pilot. I believe it goes to 2009 to 2015. Ridgelines, Odysseys, Pilots, all pretty much the same, but the transmission for the V6 is pretty easy to change. And once again, one of the most neglected maintenance items that most people tend to do. Now, typically transmission fluid needs to be changed anywhere between 30 to 60,000 miles, depending on your driving conditions and all that stuff. Honda recommends between 60 to 100,000 miles, and also depends on how you're using this vehicle. If you're towing it, you're probably going to need to change it a little more frequent than not. So this one has 150,000 miles. I have no record of it being changed, and if I'm honest with you, it's probably the easiest transmission fluid to change compared to most vehicles. Most vehicles have a pan that you drop, drain the fluid, gets a little messy, then you gotta put it back, tighten up the filter, all that good stuff. But this one, there's not a traditional filter per se. Now, I have read and seen that there is a filter that's kind of tucked away and a little hard to get to with the way the engine is, but typically that doesn't get serviced, and I'm not going to service it per se because the transmission is running fine. We're just going to do this as preventative maintenance. So let me get a ladder because this is a little high, and we'll show you what we're looking at. All right, so we're at the driver's side over here where the transmission is, and let's see if I can get you guys a good view. So now I'm going to try to point my finger right down over here, and it is warm. But if you look right over there, there's a drain plug and it says AT. Now I know this hose is in the way, but if you can see it right over there, that is actually the fill plug for the transmission. Now typically, and I recommend this for any vehicle, before you take out the fluid, make sure you can take out the fill plug. If you can't take out the fill plug, then walk away, leave it alone. But in this case, we want to make sure that we can take that out. Because if we can't take it out for whatever reason, then at least we can still use the vehicle. Like I said, this vehicle doesn't have any issues, but it's a good maintenance item. It's a 17 millimeter. You really don't need to take anything out to get to it. We're going to use a 1/2 inch 17 millimeter socket along with a 1/2 inch extension. And I typically use a breaker bar just to break them out easily. And that should come right out. Once that comes right out, we'll go underneath and we'll drain the fluid. So let's get the tools. All right, so that is extremely tight, and that's why I recommend using the breaker bar, but it broke loose, and we could take this thing off and unscrew it. Now there's these two coolant hoses for the heater core, and we'll just kind of tuck them out the way. So let me go ahead, finish unscrewing this, and we'll keep going. All right, so as you can see, this is our big bolt. It does have a washer that comes with it. I typically don't change them because, well, they typically don't go bad. If it's leaking or you have an issue, change it. But I mean, I find just torquing these things, they'll last a pretty long time. So pretty good on that. Now that it's open, it'll kind of help it flow out a lot better. So you're going to need about 3.5 quarts. That's what it calls for. Honda dealer told me 3.6 quarts. I do recommend checking with your local Honda dealer, primarily because I found it to be cheaper than the old Amazon, eBay, and anywhere else. The quarts are going for about $8 a quart, and Amazon was showing it for $12 a quart. So we'll get under here, and you see our drain plug fits, our drain pan fits perfectly right over here. Let's get you some light. If you look right over there, you're going to see that plug right over there. So you're going to use a 1/2 inch wrench, ratcheting wrench. You're going to use a 1/2 inch wrench, and that should be able to break it loose. So let's go ahead and break that loose. Now you want to have the engine warm, that way the fluid has kind of broken through everything and just kind of clean things up a little bit. So the engine has been running, it is kind of warm, so kind of be careful when you do that. So let's see if we could squeeze in our ratchet. All right, so I got a 3/8 little breaker bar right over there, and that's what we're going to be able to break it loose. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to pull down on it, and hopefully that should come off pretty easy.